You walked through the front door today, you knelt down, wrapped your arms around your dog, maybe slipped him a treat from your pocket, and somewhere in the back of your mind, you thought to yourself, I'm a good dog owner, and maybe you are. But here's the question that should stop you cold. What if the single thing your dog dreads most is something you did before you even had your morning coffee? Not because you're cruel, not because you don't care, but because you love your dog just in a way that's quietly working against him. Stay with me, because by the time we reach number 4 on this list, most dog owners go completely silent. Welcome to Canine Mind. If you genuinely care about what's happening inside your dog's emotional world, hit subscribe right now, because that's the entire reason this channel exists. Dogs are not simply creatures of habit who eat, nap, and chase tennis balls. Science has confirmed something that devoted dog owners have quietly felt for years. Dogs possess an emotional intelligence that rivals that of a 2-year-old human child. They experience joy, they experience frustration, they feel insecurity, and yes, they feel something that can only honestly be described as heartbreak. The problem isn't that people mistreat their dogs. The problem is far more subtle than that. The things that hurt dogs most aren't the obvious ones. They're the small, everyday, completely well-meaning habits that quietly erode your dog's sense of trust, their confidence in the world, and the foundation of their happiness. Let's get into it. Number 1, and this one hits harder than most people expect. You take your dog's food away to test them. Think carefully about what actually happens in your dog's brain the moment your hand reaches toward their bowl while they're eating. It's not a minor inconvenience. It's not mild annoyance. It is a primal alarm, ancient, deep, and biological. Dogs are direct descendants of animals that had to compete for every single meal. Their nervous system is literally wired to treat food as a survival resource, not a reward, not a luxury, a matter of life or death. When you repeatedly remove their bowl, even in a playful way, even with the absolute best of intentions, you are not teaching them patience or obedience. You are activating an evolutionary fear response that sends one clear message. This resource is not safe. I have to protect it. That is the origin story of food aggression, and it never starts with a bite. It starts with tension. It starts with a dog whose entire body stiffens the moment you take one step toward their bowl. It starts with a dog that begins eating faster and faster, not out of greed, but out of urgency because they're trying to finish before it disappears again. Animal behaviorists consistently identify food guarding as one of the most common problems they're asked to address, and simultaneously, one of the most preventable. The heartbreaking irony is that the owners who create this pattern are almost always the ones who are trying to prevent it. Here's what actually works. Build a positive association between your presence and your dog's bowl. Walk over while they're eating and drop in something even better than what's already in there. Practice the leave it command, but practice it through reward-based methods, not through manufactured anxiety. Your dog should come to believe that your hands near their food are a signal that something good is coming their way. Not that something is about to disappear. Keep watching, because the next behavior on this list is something the overwhelming majority of dog owners do within the first 5 minutes of coming home. Number 2, you greet your dog with an overwhelming surge of energy. Picture the scene. You push open the front door. Your dog explodes. You squeal. You spin around. You let them jump all over you. Paws on your shoulders. Tongue everywhere. It feels like pure, electric joy, and honestly, part of it is. But pay close attention to what happens in the minutes that follow. A lot of dogs can't come back down from that peak. They pace the room. They whine for no clear reason. They nudge you with their nose again and again. They simply cannot settle. That is not happiness lingering. That is a nervous system that was pushed into overdrive and has no roadmap back to calm. Here's what dogs actually need from us, and it's not what most people assume. They don't need us to mirror their excitement. They need us to be the steady, grounded presence they can orient themselves around. When we match and amplify their arousal at the door, we're sending a very specific message. The world is a high-intensity, high-stakes place, and every moment matters urgently. Over time, dogs who experience this pattern consistently become dogs who struggle with anxiety, hyperactivity, and something vets call separation distress, because every departure and every return has become a full emotional event. Canine psychologists have a term for this cycle: inadvertent reinforcement of anxious arousal. You're not doing it intentionally, but your dog's brain is registering the pattern and building expectations around it. Owner leaves, owner comes back. Emotional explosion, owner leaves again. The anticipation alone becomes exhausting. Here's an alternative worth trying. Come home, keep your energy low, let your dog begin to settle, give it 60 to 90 seconds, and then greet them, warmly but gently. No performance, no explosion. Within just a few days, you'll likely notice your dog becoming calmer. As a baseline, not less joyful, but more stable. And a stable dog is genuinely a happier dog. Number 3, you use the crate as punishment. The crate, when used correctly, is one of the most powerful and compassionate tools available to a dog owner. Dogs are den animals by evolutionary design. Their wild ancestors actively sought out small, enclosed, sheltered spaces, not as confinement, but as comfort, as security. A properly introduced crate should function as your dog's private bedroom, a place that belongs entirely to them, where nothing scary happens, nothing is demanded of them, and rest is always available. But here is exactly where things go wrong. Your dog tears up a pillow, chews through a phone charger, jumps up on a guest and knocks them sideways. You point to the crate with frustration written across your face and say, "Get in there." And in that single moment, something psychologically significant has shifted. You've taken the one space in your entire home that was supposed to be neutral and safe, and you've linked it permanently in your dog's memory to the feeling of rejection, to punishment, to your disapproval. Dogs form associative memories with extraordinary force. Once the crate becomes emotionally connected to your anger or their shame, it loses its entire function. Worse, it becomes a source of stress in itself. Dogs that once slept peacefully in their crates become dogs that scratch the door, whine without stopping, and spiral into panic the moment the latch clicks shut. Make this rule absolute. Never send your dog to the crate as a consequence for anything. If they need to be separated from a situation, redirect them calmly, without heat, without drama, then invest the time in rebuilding the crate's positive identity: treats tossed inside casually, meals eaten near the entrance, their favorite toy waiting in the back corner. The crate should be somewhere your dog chooses to go, and when it is, you have an extraordinarily powerful tool for travel, for rest, for recovery, and for their own peace of mind. Stay with us, because we're getting to something that a lot of dog owners laugh off in the moment, but that research shows creates genuine, measurable damage to the bond between a human and their dog. Number 4, a thunderstorm moves in. Your dog is trembling behind the toilet, pressed flat against the floor, panting at 2 a.m. with their eyes wide and glassy, and you smile. Maybe you chuckle. Maybe you reach for your phone to capture it for social media. You're not a bad person for doing that, but understand what is actually happening on the other side of that moment. Your dog is not being dramatic. They are experiencing something neurologically real and physically overwhelming. Elevated cortisol flooding their system, heart rate accelerating, the full biological machinery of fear running at maximum output. And the one creature on the planet they trust completely, the one being their entire emotional world is organized around, is laughing. Dogs are extraordinarily sensitive to human emotional responses. They study our faces the way we study language. They decode our body language and our tone of voice with an accuracy that continues to astonish researchers. When your response to their fear is amusement, they do not understand that it comes from a place of affection or that you find the situation harmless. What they understand is this: you saw their distress, and you did not respond to it. Over time, that registers as something devastating. You are not my protector. This matters on a foundational level, because a dog's confidence in the world is built almost entirely on their confidence in you. Dogs whose owners show up as a reliable source of calm and safety during frightening situations are dogs who recover from fear faster and dogs who develop fewer long-term anxiety disorders overall. Dogs who learn that their owner is unavailable, dismissive, or entertained by their fear develop what behaviorists call floating anxiety, a generalized, sourceless dread that follows them everywhere, because the world itself has come to feel fundamentally unsafe. When your dog is scared, your job is simple but essential. Stay calm, not artificially upbeat, not dismissive, but genuinely steady. Lower your voice. Slow your movements. Don't smother them with forced affection, but be present. Let them come to you on their own terms. That consistency, repeated again and again over time, builds a dog who can face frightening things because they know with certainty that you are there. Number 5. You pet them on top of the head. This one catches people off guard every single time. You love your dog, so you reach out naturally and pat them right on top of their head. And your dog either puts up with it, turns slightly away, or gives you a brief whale eye, that half-moon glimpse of white that you probably never registered as a signal at all. Most of us interpret a dog that tolerates being touched as a dog that enjoys being touched. Behaviorists have a name for that distinction: learned tolerance. And it is a fundamentally different thing from actual enjoyment. Here's the biology underneath it. Reaching over a dog's head and applying downward pressure activates the same postural response that a dominant animal triggers in a subordinate. Dogs cannot fully track what's descending toward them from above and slightly behind. Even a dog with zero history of aggression, a dog who loves their owner completely, will register some degree of involuntary tension in response to that gesture. It isn't about trust between you and them, it's about neurological wiring that has been in place for millions of years, and it runs deeper than your relationship does. Watch your dog closely the next time you reach for them. Does their body soften? Do they lean into your hand and shift their weight toward you? Do their eyes go soft? That's enjoyment. Or does their head drop slightly? Do they shift their weight away, blink rapidly, or go unnaturally still? That's tolerance. And the gap between those two things is significant. Dogs consistently prefer being touched along the chest, across the shoulders, and at the base of the tail. Long, slow strokes along the sides of the body release oxytocin, the bonding hormone, in both the dog and the human. You can actually demonstrate far more love for your dog by changing where you touch them than by simply touching them more often. That's a shift that costs nothing and means everything. We're halfway through, and the next entry is one of the quietest on this list, practically invisible, but it creates some of the deepest emotional damage of all. Number 6. You are inconsistent with your rules. Monday, the dog is allowed on the couch. Tuesday, you push him off. Wednesday, he hops back up, and you don't say a word because he looked too adorable to correct. Thursday, you raise your voice because he jumped up in front of company. From the outside looking in, this looks like a perfectly ordinary household. From inside your dog's brain, it is complete and total chaos. Dogs don't moralize. They don't reflect on whether something is appropriate or whether they deserve to be on the furniture. They think in patterns. This action produces this outcome. When the outcome for the exact same behavior keeps changing randomly based on your mood, what you're wearing, who's in the room, how tired you are, your dog cannot construct a reliable mental model of the world they live in. And an animal that cannot predict its own environment is, by definition, an anxious animal. What looks like stubbornness in a dog, what looks like selective hearing, what looks like a dog who seems to forget everything they've ever been taught, is very often anxiety expressing itself as behavior. The dog that ignores commands. The dog who responds perfectly to one family member and completely differently to another. These are dogs who were never given a consistent enough environment to actually internalize the rules in the first place. This doesn't demand military-level discipline. It doesn't require rigid schedules or exhausting enforcement. It simply requires agreement. Everyone living in your home needs to respond to the same behaviors in the same ways, every time. Either the couch is allowed or it isn't. Either jumping for greetings is welcomed or it's redirected. Choose the rules and honor them. Your dog will respond with a calmness and a responsiveness and a genuine contentedness that you might not have seen before because they finally understand the world they're living in. Number 7. You ignore them when they're reaching out to you. Your dog presses a paw against your leg. You keep scrolling. They nudge your hand with their nose. You shift away. They plant themselves directly in front of you and fix you with a stare of absolute intensity, the kind of eye contact that practically vibrates, and you don't look up. What you need to understand is that every single one of those gestures is a deliberate communication attempt. Dogs have a limited vocabulary, and they use every single word in it. The paw, the nudge, sustained eye contact, small, soft vocalizations, positioning themselves in doorways or directly in your path. These aren't random, restless behaviors. They are intentional, specific messages, sometimes urgent ones. When we consistently fail to respond, dogs don't conclude that the effort isn't worth making. They conclude that the channel doesn't work. And from there, one of two things happens. Either they escalate into barking, into destructive behavior, into the kind of hyperactivity that gets labeled as a problem dog, or they shut down entirely. And the shutdown, honestly, is the more troubling outcome. A dog that has stopped trying to communicate with their owner has given up on that connection. Behaviorists call this learned helplessness, and it looks, deceptively, like a calm, low-maintenance dog. They're not easy. They've just stopped believing that their signals matter to anyone. You don't need to drop everything every time your dog twitches a paw, a glance, a single word, one moment of acknowledgement. That is all your dog needs to feel what every living creature needs to feel. I see you. I hear you. You matter. The relationship lives in those small moments. Don't go anywhere, because what's coming next is the thing that vets and trainers say they find themselves explaining at nearly every single consultation they sit in on. Number 8. You shout when they misbehave. Your dog raided the trash can, shredded a shoe that cost you real money, had an accident right in the middle of the living room floor, and your instinct, completely human, completely understandable, was to respond with volume, to raise your voice and make sure they knew exactly how you felt. Understandable, human, and almost entirely counterproductive. When you shout at a dog, one of two things unfolds, and neither one accomplishes what you're hoping for. In dogs with bolder temperaments, the elevated energy of a shouting human actually functions as attention, which means that instead of discouraging the behavior, you have accidentally reinforced it. In more sensitive dogs, the volume generates genuine fear, but not the kind of fear connected to the behavior. The dog doesn't link your current emotional state to the thing they did 12 minutes ago. They link it to right now, to your face, to the room they're standing in. And now those things carry threat. Research into canine stress responses is remarkably consistent on this point. Punishment-based training increases anxiety and actively impairs learning. A dog operating from inside a fear state is neurologically less capable of processing and retaining new information, not more capable, less. So shouting doesn't just fail as a teaching tool. It actively works against the teaching you're trying to do. Communication with dogs that actually works looks like this: calm, clear, and consistent. A firm, low voice marks the unwanted behavior in the moment it occurs. An immediate redirect gives the dog an alternative, something to do instead. And when they do it, you reward them. That sequence mark, redirect, reward, works across virtually every dog and virtually every developmental stage, because it operates in alignment with how the dog brain actually learns rather than in opposition to it. Number 9. You physically push them away. Your dog wants to be near you. They press into your legs like they're trying to phase through them. They climb toward your face. They drape their entire body across you at the exact moment you're trying to focus on something else. And your response is to push them off with your hands, with your knees, with your body weight, maybe gently, maybe firmly, but physically. Here is what dogs do not experience that as: a boundary. What they experience it as is a social signal. Specifically, the social signal of being excluded from the group. In the social architecture of dogs, physical contact is the currency of belonging. Leaning against another dog, sleeping in physical contact, moving through the world together, these are how dogs say, in the only language they have, "You are mine and I am yours." When we push them away, even without anger, even with complete gentleness, we are speaking their language. And the message we're delivering is, not you. Over time, dogs who are repeatedly pushed away while seeking closeness develop what researchers describe as insecure attachment. They either begin seeking physical contact obsessively because they can never be confident it will be available, or they stop seeking it altogether. Both of those outcomes are painful. Neither one reflects the relationship you actually want with your dog. Instead of physical rejection, lean on language and redirection. Off is a cue that every dog can learn. Place teaches them to go to their own space on request, and during the times when you are available, make that contact intentional and genuinely warm. Contact that is chosen on both sides is infinitely more connective than contact that is merely tolerated. Number 10. You dismiss their need for social connection. Dogs are not solitary animals. They have never been solitary animals. Every domestic dog alive today is descended from animals who lived in groups, hunted in groups, slept together, and survived together. Isolation is not a neutral condition for a dog. It is, in the most accurate biological terms, a form of suffering. This doesn't mean you need to be physically present with your dog around the clock, but it does mean that a dog left alone for 10 hours a day with no enrichment, no interaction, and no meaningful social outlet is a dog accumulating stress, quietly, steadily, day after day. The behavior that eventually emerges: destructive chewing, relentless barking, compulsive, repetitive behaviors. Aggression is not a personality flaw. It is not the mark of a bad dog. It is a symptom. It is what loneliness looks like when it has nowhere left to go. The solution is not complicated. It is just intentional. Daily walks that make room for sniffing and genuine exploration. Play sessions that are actually calibrated to your dog's energy level. Not just yours. Training that challenges their mind, not only their body. Time with other dogs, if that's something your dog genuinely enjoys. And the simplest, most irreplaceable thing of all, sitting with them. Not with a phone in your hand, not half present, just there for even 15 minutes a day, giving them your full and undivided attention. Your dog has one life, and at the absolute center of that life, not your house, not their food bowl, not their toys, is you. Everything they believe about themselves, and everything they understand about the world, is filtered through that relationship. When you show up for it consistently, calmly, with presence and a genuine willingness to understand them on their own terms, you don't just improve their behavior, you give them a life that is genuinely, measurably, deeply good. That's 10 things. And here is the truth that holds all of them together. Your dog is not asking for perfection. They are not waiting for you to become a certified animal behaviorist or overhaul your entire lifestyle. They are asking for consistency, for presence, for the willingness to meet them where they are and understand them on their own terms. Every single thing on this list is fixable, not someday, not after research or training programs, but starting right now, starting with the very next moment you spend together. If this video shifted the way you see your dog, share it with someone who loves theirs. Subscribe to K9 Mind for more content grounded in real behavioral science. And drop a comment letting us know which one of these surprised you the most. We read every single